filmmaking and the arts and community building, community organizing, and economic development and urban planning. And I've been kind of like mixing and matching and trying to do something with these things for some time. And right now, these are kind of the worlds in which I'm revolving my consulting work in a variety of places, policy development work, and I'm also, since I got a few extra hours of the day, working on a PhD and doing some research, and it's very exciting. It's really wonderful to be playing with this. And what I'm going to talk about here today is a few kind of broad ideas that I've come to rely on. I've come to think are important to apply to our work, and hopefully they're going to provoke some different ways of thinking about what we do. And I looked first at the premise of the conference, leveraging art and design, building more equitable, sustainable communities, and overcoming economic disparities. And this is a real challenge for those of us in this kind of work. And Deanna has pointed that out very well. And I've thrown a bunch of pictures from recent travels. And here I was in Beverly Hills 2 or 3 weeks ago, and there was this tricked out Bentley that was attracting attention. I thought, that's funny. And I was in Queens, New York, a couple of years ago. Do you believe the housing authority in Queens has a development called Bland Houses? Why did they hit that? But this whole notion of creative cities, arts and economic development, all this stuff that many of us are excited about working on, it has, in fact, in Richard Florida, I call it Floridization, he even acknowledges now that cities that really embrace this creative cities idea, this creative cities notion, have found greater economic disparity. So there's something wrong with this picture. And I don't think it's an either-or kind of scenario. We either have to believe in the power of creativity and culture and the arts, or go for economic justice and work on that. I was in Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, last summer. It's this amazing, well-preserved 11th century city that's still going through this transition from Soviet era to this sort of capitalist tourist mecca. So I just threw some pictures in here from my vacation pictures. You know, I have to use them sometime. So anyway, is this an either-or choice? Is this something we can figure out how to deal with? And I have some premises, and I believe in the work that I do and many of my colleagues do, that we are working for economic justice and to overcome disparities while working on creative economy with our communities. And first I think we have to look at some older approaches that many of us have taken. And these are some hard questions that I think it's important to ask ourselves. If in helping individuals in our communities, which is really wonderful, important, noble work, are we sometimes enabling, are we cleaning up the mess after the people who are exploiting our communities, the people who are exploiting the people in our communities? So if we're not working on changing the systems and structures, relationships, are we just sort of cleaning up after the people who are taking advantage of us? So that's a tough question to ask. This is a sort of personal dilemma, I think, that we find my subtle little humor in. Anyway, and I was just the other day, in fact, reading this article in the Stanford Social Innovation Review, which reinforces a lot of what many of us have been doing and believe in for a long time about working across sectors and really seeing the value and the breadth of the work that we do and the position and the relationship it has to what other people are doing. It's not always easy. It takes a little more effort to think outside the box, but we have to do it. If we want to achieve what we're talking about here in this conference, we can't work alone. We can't work in our silos only. we have to challenge a variety of paradigms, and I have three that I'm going to talk about. We can't settle for either-or solutions. Things are just not that simple. We have to make choices, of course, but we really have to strive hard to find a way that works for everybody. And the toughest thing of all, what I've been finding in my work as a consultant traveling around the country, working in communities, is the work that you do, of course, has to be connected to the places and the leaders and the grassroots in those places, but the communities have to be functional places. You can do the greatest work in the world, but if the community around you is dysfunctional, people are not working together, you're not really going to get a whole lot of traction. So you really have to find ways to help your communities be functional places where the work that you're doing has meaning and takes root. These are tough, big challenges, but that's why I'm at the beginning of the conference, and the rest of you are going to answer these questions. So obviously, in doing this work alone, or not doing this work alone, it's a challenge to understand the broader context in which we're doing it. And many of us get into silo thinking. We go deep in our fields, and it's really interesting. And we lose sight of what other people are doing around us and what meaning, 1 minute already. And there's three paradigms that I want to reference. I mean, I love this truck in Miami. It says, you can read that, progress by demolition. So when we look at our communities, do we see the assets? We see the deficits? We really have to see both. One researcher that I've been working with, she's working in the Harvard Business School doing this, says, and she's working in the field of business psychology, says we have to look at least 3 to 5 assets for every deficit, because the deficits are so overwhelming and so disempowering that we really need to focus much more energy on seeing the assets that we have to work with. Secondly, we have to look at both professional and DIY, do-it-yourself, community-based arts, but it's been a little out of balance. And I think the community-based work is really, really important. And we need both, but we really have to think about how they're mixed and matched. Thirdly, and lastly, in the paradigms, thinking about field-based, where this is the going deep in your silo versus thinking cross-sector, really, really important. And finally, and this picture on the right is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can't see that. The Budweiser sign says rehab lounge. It's like, yeah, honey, I'm going to rehab tonight. Anyway, our functional versus dysfunctional communities is a really, really important thing to focus on. How can we help improve those? And finally, in summary, as the bell rings, thinking about these